Welcome to Learning to Glow, a show about wellness, skin health, and self-development. I'm your host, Jess. I'm a mom, entrepreneur, and skincare expert. I'm so excited to share tips on how to achieve healthy skin and bring amazing guests in the field of health, fitness, aging gracefully, and personal growth. Let's explore all different ways we can take care of ourselves as women, both inside and out, to truly shine. So let's get glowing. Hello and welcome to the Learning to Glow podcast. I am your host, Jess, and today we have human design specialist and consultant, Allyson. She is the founder and human design specialist at The Speak Through, a space to allow your whole self to speak through you. She offers a holistic approach to wellness through the lens of human design and energetic integrity. Human design uses your birth information to provide a blueprint for your energetic signature, informing how your natural energy operates, makes decisions, and interacts with the world around you. Offering one-on-one sessions, mentoring, and education, Allyson helps activate and guide you to your energetic integrity, believing that no one knows better for you than you. We had such a great conversation about human design. If you've never heard of it, you can take a test before you listen to this podcast. It's really quick. You just need to know your birth information, and then you can learn what type you are. And that will make this interesting because we actually go through all of the types. And if you already know about human design, this is also great for you. It is so fun to see how we can use our type and the information that we get with human design and apply it into our lives. So we talk about things like using it on ourselves, using it with our work, using it with our kids even. This is such a fun episode. You will love Allyson. She is amazing. You can even book a session with her if you wish to dive deeper. And if you want to learn more about her, you can go and find her at her website, which is thespeakthrough.com. And she's on Instagram at thespeakthrough. So I will leave all of that in the show notes as well. It's great. I hope you enjoy it. And if you're enjoying this podcast in general, this week I'm asking that you share it with someone that you think would enjoy it so we can keep getting the word out. And as always, thank you for your reviews. I so appreciate it. I've had a few more reviews this week, and I just want to say thank you for taking the time to do that because it means a lot and it helps us get the word out. So enjoy this episode with Allyson, and here we go. Today we have Allyson, and I just want to thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm excited.
So excited. I'm so excited to talk about this topic because it's one that I'm so interested in, and it's always hard for me to talk about with people because I just don't know that much about it. But yeah. I know that when I found it, I was like, boom, it resonated so strongly. So what I'm talking about is human design. But first, I'd love to just have you introduce yourself and share a little bit about you, and then we'll talk more about human design.
Awesome. So my name is Allyson Turk. I do human design sessions. I don't really necessarily call them readings anymore because I really believe that I'm just transmitting the information. You don't really need to be read. You know what I mean? So I focus on that. So really energetic integrity through human design. And then I also by day do a lot of business consulting to help small businesses and kind of just get businesses propped up and ready to rock. So
I love that because I feel, and we'll probably talk about this later, but I feel like that goes hand in hand. Like you can use your human design to work within your business and your life. So, and that's how I found it. I was doing a group coaching program and my coach had mentioned human design. And I was like, I've never heard of that. And I thought I was up on all this stuff. And so I found out, I took a test and I found out that I was a generator. And I was like, whoa, this is everything I read. I'm like, this is so me. It is weird. So I just kind of dove in straight first. And then that's how I found you. But tell us for those, and there's a lot of people that I talk to and I'll be like, well, your human design. And they're like, I've never heard of that. So tell us, what's a 101 human design explanation for people who've never heard of it before?
So I really like to look at it as like a blueprint or a user manual for your energy. And instead of energy being this kind of like esoteric, like Ooh, energy, right? It's really energy from a mechanical standpoint. So looking at it very like, how is your system meant to operate? How are you meant to make decisions? And how do you best interact with those around you? So
Mm.
it's like if you bought a new car and you were like, how do I drive this engine? Basically, that's how I really look at it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes it, that takes kind of some of the woo woo out of it too, right? For
Yeah.
people who are like skeptical.
Yeah.
Um, so there are different types of human design. So tell us about that, because I'm a generator, but I don't know much about the other ones just because I'm not one of those. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about each type.
So there's four different auric types or aura types. And if we're kind of using that analogy of an engine, it's almost like there's four different types of engines that we can all have to how our energy wants to work. And so there's manifesting energy, and that's what I am. I'm a manifester. There's generating energy, so generators, projecting energy, which are also known as projectors, and then reflecting energy that are known as reflectors. And then there is a hybrid type that is both manifesting and generating energy together, and they're called manifesting generators. But I'm kind of I don't know if you would say I'm a purist, or there's different schools of thought in that I still consider manifesting generators generators, because
Okay.
at the end of the day, the engine still works the same as a
Oh, that's
generator. So
interesting. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit, like break it down for us? So say you take a test and you
yeah.
find out you're a generator. What is a generator?
So a generator is someone who has a defined sacral. And when you look, you put in your information, you're going to get a chart that looks like it has shapes and lines and colors. And it probably going to be like, what the hell am I looking at right here?
Oh.
So the shapes are energy centers. And so basically each shape, it's kind of correlates to the chakra system. Each energy center has a different biological theme, and then also just a general theme in our life, right? And so for generators, the sacral center, which if you're familiar with the chakra system, we've heard the sacral chakra before. On the human design chart, it's the red square right on your stomach. If that is defined or colored in for you, so it's colored in red, you are automatically a generator. And that means that you have consistent and reliable access to regenerative energy whenever you're doing what you love. Right. And that's the caveat to it that I think is really fun. And just, I love the way it all works, is that it's not like you can just tap into it and be like, I'm going to go do something today. I need all this energy. Like, it's really when you're doing what you love as a generator, that's when all of a sudden this fuel source kicks in, and you just like produce your own energy, and you could do that thing for hours and you don't get tired. You're just like, I'm cool. I still got energy. I can go. I can go.
I love that.
So that's one of the main things with being a generator. I will say the other main thing with being a generator is that you have the ability to pull life into you. It's very counterintuitive than we are often conditioned to believe we obtain things in life, especially for generators. Generators are really conditioned to think that they get things the way manifestors get things, like just go out and do it and create it and make it happen, right? For a generator, it's the opposite. So your sacral center is like a magnet. So you're actually pulling things into you. And what your system is designed to do is to respond to whatever's in front of you in the moment. And what that response does is really alert your system. Do I have energy for this, or do I not have energy for this? Right? Your sacral center is really kind of coming online and going, yep, I'm totally into this. I have energy. I'm going to do it. Or nope, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't have energy for this. So with generators, you'll hear a lot of this response mechanism. So generators need to respond to things. They need to respond yes or no if they want to do something.
So is this the same type of thing as I heard one time in regard to generators, that it's like you kind of have to check in with what if you want to do something. So for example, if somebody asks you to do something, you have to really be in tune with your gut, or like your intuition a little bit, to say, like you said, do you have the energy for this, or do you not have the energy for it? And then if you say yes to something that your gut says you should say no to, like that's a bad thing. And it's like, it should really be, this is what I can't remember where I heard this, but they said if it's not a hell yes, it should be a hell no
Yeah.
for generator.
Yeah.
I feel like that's true.
Yeah, it definitely, I always am mindful that I don't have a defined sacral, so I can't speak from experience of what it's actually like. But from what, I've just learned in my understanding of it is that it's really this like, yeah, it's a yes or no type of sensation that's in your body. And so for generators, it's always a great first way to start is tell people to stop asking you open-ended questions. The sacral cannot respond to an open-ended question. It needs actually something to respond to. So you either need two things, like, do you want to have Mexican food or Chinese food today for lunch, right?
Right.
Or it needs to be a yes or no question. Because in that, then the sacral can respond, yes, I have energy, or no, I don't have energy. So that's just something, a really simple thing that if you're like, okay, I did the thing, I found out I was a generator, what do I do here? Start asking yourself yes or no questions, or even just be aware of how your body responds when you are asked an open-ended question. Does your system kind of go offline and you're like, I don't know what to do? Like, I don't know, right?
Wow,
That's
that's
a
so
really
true.
simple way to start with it.
I think that's why my husband gets frustrated when he asks me, "What do you want for dinner?" I'm sure I'm not the only one with that with that issue because it's always I don't know. So I love that. So let's just back up a second because I think people are like, "What's the test?" If someone once has never heard of human design, what do they do to find out their human design?
So there's a lot of different programs online. You could go to geneticmatrix.com. You can go to jovianarchive.com. And you can also go to mybodygraph.com. And
Okay.
all of those will have free versions of the chart. And really what you need is your birth information, like any other natal chart. So date, time, and location. And you put that information in, and then you're going to get generated a chart. And you're going to have the visual that I kind of explained with the shapes and the lines. And then you're also going to have a little verbiage somewhere that says like type, strategy, and authority. And those really are the three main things when you start to get into it that you want to focus on.
Oh, so it was type, authority. What was the middle one?
Type, strategy, and authority.
Okay, perfect. So, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so type is your type of aura. So like I said, either a manifester, a generator, a manifesting generator, a projector, or a reflector. So that's your type of aura. Your strategy is just like the term says. It's the strategy for how your aura wants to interact with the world. So that's the mechanism of your energy, how it wants to interact. And then your authority is where you best make decisions from, right? And the whole idea with human design is that we want to be making decisions from energy that's actually ours and not energy we pick up from the people and places that we're around. Because that's going to be an inauthentic decision that we make, right? Because it's not really our energy. So part of it is really starting to learn what energy is naturally mine. What did I come into this world with as mine? And then what energy and where do I take it in from other people and the places that I'm around?
Okay, perfect. So if you're new to human design, go do the test, push pause, and then come back, and then you can learn about you a little bit more. So we've done generator. Let's talk about the next one. What, projector?
Okay. Sure. Actually, let's go to manifester and we can kind of go through, because I think there's also a component where all the energies work together very cohesively. There's a synergy between all the energies. So manifester is really meant to initiate. They have initiatory energy. So if you have a manifester in your life, you probably know it because they leave an impact on you or the situation that they're in, whether they realize they're doing it or not. Another story, but that was one of the biggest things for me when I found out I was a manifester, is just really taking radical responsibility for the fact that everywhere I go, I have an impact. I'm making an impact. And that's just what my energy does. It's almost like it sends out these little like sonic pulses. It's like boom, boom, like here's a little impact, here's a little impact, right? And so with manifestors, they're really meant to kind of just like they have an idea, get up and do it, right? Go and do it. Now, with that, the manifestor strategy is informing, and it's kind of more of a political strategy than a mechanical strategy for manifestors, because what happens is that if a manifestor just does, but doesn't let anyone around them know they're about to do something, they can meet a lot of friction and a lot of resistance in the people in the world around them, right? Because if I just got up out of this podcast and walked out, you'd be like, what the hell just happened? Right. But if I was like, hey, I need to go run to the restroom really quick, or hey, I need to go do something, I'll be right back, then you are ready for what my energy is about to do. So that's really how manifestors work. They're initiatory. And then with that, generators are responders, right? So if manifestors initiate, generators respond. And I will say manifestors make up about 9 to 10% of the population. I like the ish policy, because we can never really get it perfect. And then generators are about 70% of the population. So they're a large sect of the population. So it's really big. And then from that, you would go into projectors, and projectors' aura, their aura is penetrative. I'm not going to say that right. Their aura penetrates other auras. So you also probably know if you have a projector in your life, because they're really good at one-on-one interactions. And they're really good at seeing people. So they're going to see really deeply into you. They're going to be really good guides, because they're here to, what projectors are here to do is to guide energy. They know how to be efficient. And so they're really good at guiding. The trick with projectors is that they, just like generators, have to wait for some sort of response within themselves. Projectors, when they're dealing with other people, it really is best when they're recognized and invited to share kind of what they see. And part of that is because projectors see so deeply that if you are not ready for a projector to see you and they just offer up hey, you know what you should do? Or, hey, I see that you're doing this. It can be really off-putting, and you can kind of be like, whoa, man, I didn't ask for that. Projectors are the ultimate unsolicited advice type of thing.
Okay.
But at the same time, when they're able to be recognized and wait for invitations from either life or people or situations, then what happens is all that amazing wisdom that they have to share, it really lands, and it really helps change the course of things, right? So it's almost like the path of least resistance for projectors, but it is very hard to learn the lesson of just chilling and waiting for invitations to come in, again, because we're so conditioned. All the types are really conditioned to be manifestors by the way our society works, and that doesn't actually work for most types, the way their energy works. Yeah.
Oh, that's
and then I guess the last one is reflectors, and reflectors are only about 1% of the population. They're really rare. Anytime I run a chart and I see it's a reflector, I always feel I'm like, woo. They're really rare, but they basically don't have any natural energy that's defined or theirs. They basically are reflecting their environment, reflecting the energy of the people and places around them. But the beauty of that is they're really here to kind of be the guidepost of how an environment is doing. So if you had a reflector in your family or on your team or in your business in any way, the health of that team, business, or family could really be seen by the health of the reflector, because they're just really reflecting everyone around them.
Oh, that's so interesting. And then you said the manifesting generator you would put in the category of generator.
Yes, because they still have that defined sacral, so they're still in response mode. Their system still needs to respond. But what happens is they just have, and this may sound a little convoluted if you're not as familiar with the chart, they have a motor that's directly connected to their throat in the centers on the chart. And that just means that they can, once they've responded, they can manifest super, super fast. So manifesting generators are powerhouses, because they have fuel and combustion all in one system. So it's Once they respond and it's a yes, they have unlimited access to energy and they have the ability to manifest and make things happen really, really fast. So
That's so interesting. I have two of those in my family.
yeah. Are they fast movers? Do they do things really quickly?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. It's
Yeah.
so interesting. Yeah. And I want to talk about that a little bit more as far as, so say you get your test and you find out what you are, and you're like me and you're like so super interested in it. What, how do you think you can advise people to incorporate it into their lives? Like, it could be with work or I don't know, just like relationships or whatever. What do you think? How do you think they can take that information and sort of apply it into their life? Because I think you can, like, really well.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think the best place to start is always with ourselves and just
Mm,
getting to know ourselves. And the beauty of why I like human design is it's a self-validating system. So the whole premise of human design is that there's no authority greater than you for yourself, right? So even if you get a reading from someone or you take in information online or whatever the case may be, you're still validating whether it's correct for you or not, right? So that's one of the beauties of it is, so as you start to play with it, you can start to learn and I think give yourself permission in ways that maybe you weren't ever given before. In a lot of the ways I see this as like we're told like, hey, don't do that, or that part of you isn't good, or whether it's from our caregivers or society or institutions, it's like, hey, stop that part of you, or hey, why can't you just, like, let's use a manifesting generator for example. A manifesting generator may have been told their whole life, why can't you find one thing and stick to it? Why are you always moving around to different things? And a manifesting generator may really internalize that and really try to be like, okay, yeah, I got to find one thing and stick to it. But the truth is that a manifesting generator's energy, the mechanism of their energy, they're not meant to stick with one thing. They're literally meant to change as fast as they want to different things all the time. So just starting to explore that with yourself, having that awareness of yourself, I think allows you to be able to dissolve maybe, and I use these terms a lot, maybe some of the guilt, shame, and judgment that you have around parts of yourself that maybe other people told you were wrong or bad, right? And I'm not going to say that's like a quick process. That's a lifelong lesson to do. So
totally.
it's not like you're going to get your chart and then I'll learn about, and then all of a sudden be like, cool, I've dissolved all these things about myself. Like, it's an ongoing process, but I think the more that we can give ourselves grace in that capacity, the more that we can then extend that to the people around us, right? So I'm a big advocate. If this is something that resonates for you, then go get the chart for everyone in your household. Learn how everyone in your household's energy is meant to operate and see where you can start to like understand things, right? And I like to use this a lot with kids. I have a 7-year-old going on 8-year-old, and knowing how her energy is meant to actually operate gives me a lot of framework for when maybe my conditioning on how I think I should parent comes in and I go, wait a minute, even though this is how I was parented, I'm actually conditioning her away from her natural energy if I tell her to do this, right? So that's a really big thing for me. And that's where I have a huge passion, because I think, what would the world be like if we nurtured children in their natural energy, or nurtured people in their natural energy, and didn't force them to be something different, right? Like, don't force the little manifesting generator to sit at the table or to sit at the desk all day when their body needs to stay in motion, right? So I think little things like that are how you can start to play with it with yourself and the people around you and just kind of incorporate it into your life.
So I love this topic because I have a lot of moms who listen to this podcast. We're both moms, and can you give us some, I love that example about the manifesting generator. Can you give us some more examples? Because I have a feeling a lot of moms are going to want to go and do their children's charts.
Yeah.
And I love that it's almost like there's no one size fits all for our kids. And if we think, oh yeah, like you just said, you should be sitting here at a desk doing this. And it's not good if you get up and move around, but if that child, that's what they need, it's not a bad thing. It's, you should allow it. You should encourage it. So can you give us some more examples of the parenting? Because I think this
Yeah.
is such a cool tool as a mom or dad.
Yeah, totally. This I really love because this is real life for me, right? Like with my daughter at home. So my daughter is a generator and her authority is also in her gut. So everything for her is her gut. It's a gut response, yes or no. So one of the ways that I've just worked with her, even when she was younger, is we just play with this notion that she has a tummy brain. So she has a brain in her stomach and her tummy that tells her if something is right for her or not. Right. And so she likes to joke. She's like, I have a head brain and I have a tummy brain. Right.
That's fabulous. I love that.
And so that really allows me to help her get in her body because with every type that's around, every type in human design, it's really about being comfortable with the sensations that are happening in your body, right? And I think that's a big thing we're conditioned out of from a very young age. And so really giving her a framework to get back into her body. So listening to her gut. And one of the ways I play with this with her is that, so as a generator, you really are meant to exhaust all your energy every single day doing things that you love. You don't want to go to bed as a generator with fuel still in your tank. What's going to happen is you have really restless sleep, right? Mm-hmm. So generators really want to fall asleep almost like that yummy, satisfied exhaustion. Like I used all my energy today. I'm so exhausted, but it feels so good, right? So as a kid, when you're just like a new parent, you're like, oh, I got to have a bedtime and I got to have a bedtime routine and I got to have the structure around this. Well, that was not working for her because I would be trying to put her to bed when she still had a lot of energy still in her tank, right? Her sacral still had energy in it. And so bedtime routine would get really drawn out. There would be meltdowns either between her or me, right? Like one of us would be having a meltdown. And then she would wake up a lot during the night. And so finally it was just kind of one of those things like, okay, wait a minute. I think I'm trying to put you to bed against what your body actually wants, right? And so really allowing her to she can go buck wild before bedtime. A lot of the times we read like calm them down and let them like slowly transition into bed. And if they're a manifestor, a projector, or a reflector, yes, have a bedtime routine, slowly like disengage and let bedtime happen. If they are a generator, like let them go balls to the wall until the minute they go to sleep. And this, what's funny about this is now sometimes I'll be like, okay, it's 10 o'clock. It's time to get ready for bed. And she's like, I still have energy in my body. And I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to go jump on the trampoline? Do you want to go run around the house? Like, what do you need to do to exhaust that energy? So that's one of the like real tangible ways that I play with it with her.
That's so cool because then she's sleeping better. She's sleeping throughout the night. And it is counterintuitive to what we've been told, as parents too. And I think that another reason I like this so much is because it can kind of really, it customizes how you do your parenting for the child that you have, because they're so different, the ways in which they are. And not only just the way they were born, but just like when you add this into it, it's such a neat way to tweak things that aren't working for you and help them work better.
Yeah.
So do you have any other examples for any of the other types?
I would say, let's see. So that's like so if you have a generator kid, really allowing them to use their energy, they want to, physical movement is going to be key. And then giving them choice. So starting to allow them to learn what it means to respond to things when they're young. So whether it's yes or no, or providing 2 toys in front of them, and then they can pick whatever they respond to. And I think the biggest thing, and I say this from my own seat, is you really have to get like your parental mind of what you think it needs to be like out of the way, which isn't always the easiest, right? You're like, no, that's the better toy for your enrichment. Like you need to use that one, but your child is responding to this other toy over here. It's like, can you just allow them to respond to that and that be the thing, right? Without interfering. So I'm not going to say I've perfected that in any way, shape, or form.
That's hard.
But yeah, that's part of it, you know? So if we're talking about sleep, then I would say for manifestors or projectors or reflectors, anyone that doesn't have a defined sacral, it's almost the opposite. Undefined sacrals need to really disengage all the energy that they've picked up all throughout the day. And so it's about like getting them horizontal and allowing about like an 45 minutes to an hour of laying down and chilling before actually going to bed. So whether that's reading books, whether that's quiet time in their room, whether it's whatever the thing is, it's about like not just shoving them into bed and turning the light off and saying go to bed. It needs to be like a process to allow them to start to disengage all the energy that they've picked up. Because the same thing's going to happen. If you put a manifestor, a projector, or a reflector to bed and they still have all this energy that they've picked up from the world, they're going to have really restless sleep. It's going to be really hard for them to go to bed. Yeah, so that's another way to work with it too.
That's so fun. I love the parenting stuff. So if you're interested in this, definitely do the charts for your kids. But anything else that you can share with us about more? And I love what you said earlier about really starting with yourself, of course, because especially because it's kind of new. I have to still remind myself, like, what is it that works best for me because I'm not so well versed in it. But in other areas of your life, what would you say is another way that it can really be beneficial to have this knowledge?
I would say in partnership relationships, it's always good. And, you know, in human design, there's no such thing as compatibility, like maybe you would get in astrology.
Oh, yeah.
And part of that is because I think with awareness, anyone can be compatible, right? As long as you're aware of how someone meant to operate, you can find compatibility in there. And so a good example is my husband is also a manifester. So we're both manifestors, but we have different authorities. So I have what's called splenic authority. I make really quick decisions very instinctually in the moment. And he has what's called emotional authority. So he's driven by his emotions, and that needs more time. He needs to make decisions over time, right? So that was, you know, at the beginning when we didn't know what we didn't know before I had interacted in human design, I would always be like, okay, cool, let's do it now. Like, let's go. And he'd be like, okay, you know, like he'll do it. I think too, because as a manifester, he has that initiatory energy, but it would never really work out that well in the long run, right? There would always be some sort of fumbling or some disaster that happened on the other end of it. And so now I really have to know, like, okay, when we're making joint decisions, I may have made my decision in like lightning fast speed, but I need to allow him like 48 to 72 hours to really feel through it before I expect an answer from him. And, you know, that takes some practice on my part because I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Like, what is taking so long, you know? But I think that's part of the awareness of like knowing that he takes longer to make decisions. So I need to give him more lead time and just respect that I'm not going to get an answer right away.
See, I love that because it's such a great tool for relationships because you have like, I know why it's taking him longer instead of just being frustrated with what the hell is taking so long.
Yeah.
It's like chop chop, you know, but
Yeah.
because I'm ready, why can't? And it's another way of kind of seeing everybody has a different style of doing things, and it just gives you so much compassion for it. So for me, after I first learned about human design, I just thought there are too many. You can go so deep, and I was very confused by my chart. I was like, this is like a different language.
Yep.
And but I knew how accurate what I did read was, and I was like, I want to know more about this so I can use it in my life. And so that's when I contacted you, and we did you don't call it reading anymore. What did you say you called
A
it?
session, I
A
think. Yeah.
session. So we did a session, and it was so cool. So tell everybody, say they want to go a little deeper because you can go super deep,
Yeah.
and the information that you get is it's a lot. So what you helped me with was working through that. But tell us, like, if somebody wants to book a session with you, what that looks like.
Yeah, so right now I have two offerings that I'm doing. So I have one-on-one sessions. So it's like a Zoom recording or Zoom meeting, and we meet one-on-one. And we can it's really open. So we can either be completely foundational, where this is your first time to it, and we're just going over like the beginning of it and getting the foundation solid for you. Or maybe you've been experimenting with it for a little bit and you're like, okay, I want to see this specific part of my life through the lens of human design.
Mm.
That's one way to do it. I guess I lied. I have three offerings, but so that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is I have what's called an activation reading. And so it's a 20-minute recorded reading that I do, where I analyze your chart, I look at your chart, and I really take also my kind of intuitive practice that I do. And I just see what little parts of your chart just need a little like activation, just need a little something to like maybe initiate and get things going. And that can really be on any area of your life. It could be life, business, relationship, whatever the case may be. I have a intake form, so you tell me what you're interested in. And then the other way I work with people too is through a mentorship. So where we work together over like 45 days, we meet 5 times, and it's really just really continuing to come back to whatever area of your life you want to work on through the lens of human design.
Oh, I love it so much. If you are listening to this, definitely check Allyson out. She is amazing. And tell us where we can find you. Of course, I'll link all of your information in the show notes as well, but let us know where we can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me at thespeakthrough.com and also the Speak Through on Instagram. So I try to keep it pretty all the same, pretty uniform.
Oh yeah, keeping it the same. That's perfect. Yeah. Well, this was so fun. Like I could talk about this for a lot longer, but so much fun. Thank you so much for all your expertise and being on the show.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. I love it.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe and review so we can reach more people who want to learn to glow alongside us. See you next time.